Hey guys, welcome to another GitLab H8 video here today. In today's video, we will be continuing on with our series. So in the last video, we configured the Praefect DB. So this video will be setting up the Praefect 3 nodes that would connect to the DB and be used. So there's a decent amount to do here, so let's get started and have some fun. Alright, so we are now in the documentation to configure the Praefect servers here. So we're going to do a 3 node, and we'll actually need to do a few things. So we need to create a Praefect external token, internal token, and I think those should be it essentially. So let's get those set up, and we will do this. So the token is kind of interesting. I could set it up, but I think we'll just use OpenSSL and we'll just do a random 32 character token is what I did on my instance, because I think that is going to work out better, and it worked. So we're going to just do that for now for the external and internal token. So yeah, let's name this one internal. And I think that's really all the prereqs that you need, but we'll figure it out as we go, you know. So we will configure the GitLab Praefect nodes here. So SSH install GitLab. You can't remove default entry because GitLab requires it. Okay, so that's something to note. So we got some configuration here for like some storage stuff. So hopefully that shouldn't be too bad. Only one Praefect node needs to run the migrations, aka the deploy node. So we'll have to run some stuff, and then we need to create that file as well. But there doesn't look like there's really any post steps to it. So that means we're gonna have to do a decent amount in just the file itself. So let's get started on configuring the GitLab RB. So going through this, we'll go back to our thing. So it doesn't start off with roles. It just has a lot of enable and disable stuff. So let's take a look and figure out what all is needed. So enable. So this should be false. So if Praefect in inventory hostname and DB not in inventory hostname, then we want to have this disabled. And the reason why we have to do it this way is because we actually named our database Praefect DB, so this would pick up, but we don't want this to actually set anything in here. So I'm pretty sure that should work. I will double check my logic in my other configuration that I did. DB not in inventory hostname. Yep, that should work. So we all need to do the rest of these too. So let's take a look here on these configurations. Not the geo one. This is set to true. So what we want here is if Praefect. I'm not typing in that right at all. Inventory hostname and DB not in inventory hostname. And then we all set this to false as well. Then we got Redis, so we want to disable that. At this point, I'm just going to copy and paste this next one. If Praefect in inventory hostname and DB not in inventory hostname, and if, and we will set this to false. And you can see how tiring this can be doing it, but trust me, if you had to copy and paste and configure each one of these individually, not do it via Ansible, it's so much more annoying. So I'm gonna just copy that because we're gonna be using that pretty much all over the place here for these first few things. So yep, that is not going to, that's going to just be this again. So set that. This will be set to false. And if, and then we remove this. Then we got Puma. And we will copy this. False. Disabled sidekick. The best part about this is, like, after this one, I think we got 2 or 3 more things to configure, and then we're done. Then we actually have GitLab running in HA, and it works, which will be super exciting once this is all done. False. And if, remove this comma. Oh, we don't want that there. And then, what was that? Sidekick. We got workhorse. And false. And if Prometheus. Oh, not that. This. And if alert manager, and we're almost done doing these configurations. Oh man, the worst part about this is doing this on like one screen, because I technically have a 49-inch ultra wide, the Samsung Odyssey, and I usually have a lot more than this, small 1080 screen, but for like a video, it makes so much more sense to do it in like, this screen size, because for video, I can't expect people to have like a 49-inch ultra wide to watch it, which makes sense. It's just, yeah, it's just kind of a lot harder when you're like, okay, now I'm really limited to like one screen, and it's just part of my screen and not even my whole screen. But I have considered getting a second one of these monitors. They're super nice and very efficient. The only problem is like it takes up a lot of space if you don't have an arm mount, which I ended up buying because I was like, if I don't buy it, and I would highly recommend anyone who has it to buy an arm mount, because it will save you so much more space. And then we're good for that. Okay. Whew. We went through all that configuration, and I was just like, man, that's a lot of configuration. Okay, so now we can configure this in here. If perfect, we want this to be true, and if this, and we want to do that. So we'll want to prevent database migration stuff to make sure things don't get enabled. So we'll also set this to false, but I'm going to just put it up here. I'm not going to make another if statement. Too much work. False, and we want to make sure GitLab Rails doesn't auto migrate either. So in this case, so actually we can just remove this. So both the DB and the Praefect we don't need, so we just actually save that. That'll save us some time. Console enable. So we need to do this one too, and that needs to be set to true. True. And if, then we got the monitoring service here. So same thing, we can just move the DB because it will affect all those machines. And then we get to the Praefect configuration, which will be interesting. So the idea here, and I'm going to actually copy and paste this, because we're just going to essentially run it through with this. And hopefully, I might make a new file here. Oh. I don't want to, I got Visual Studio Code installed on this. We'll do it like that. Visual Studio Code. Okay, so essentially this is the configuration we need to copy and paste. So let's just take a look here real quick. Those comments, those won't matter. So we can input the stuff. So external token. So we'll copy this, paste that here. Then we got the password for the Postgres. So we want this. We want this in here. Oh, I copied too many things apparently. So that's good. And then we want the virtual storage in here. Does this actually line up with that? So auth database. Oh, this is the host for the database. So we can actually just do DNS names. So GitLab Praefect db.dragon.local. So that should be good now. Then we got the default stuff in here. So what we'll want to do is this will be GitLab gitali1.dragon.local. And then we'll replace these with DNS names as well down here. 2 and 3. And then we need to paste the internal token as well. So let's copy that and replace the internal token. Here we go. And I think that is essentially it for this. So let's expand these again, and then we'll copy this and put it in our configuration in here in GitLab. And I just realized I should have done this in like Visual Studio Code, even though this technically it is Visual Studio Code, but it has better syntax highlighting. But it's okay. It's all right. So we need to look up, in this case, Praefect configuration. So this is where it would be put. So we'll just put it right here. We'll paste that in here, and we will also run this if statement to apply this change, and then just double check everything looks as expected. So that covers that. We can end if here, and let's take a look. Tokens are inputted in. We got the database. We got the password for the database. We got the storage nodes, which will connect correctly based off of the naming, and all those tokens are the same. Okay. So that should be good. And then we'll need to do the node exporter here. So same thing here. We can remove the DB because it'll affect all those, and then the console configuration. And then we could just remove the DB from this as well. And that looks like it would be it. Let's take a look here. Much like GitLab, for this you just select one node to run migrations, aka the deploy node. This node must be configured first as follows. So in GitLab RB, change the perfect auto migrate setting from false to true for one of the nodes. Okay, so let's take a look here. So we actually have auto migrate as false. And I'm trying to think, how did I do this? You can there's a few ways to do this. Oh, that's how I did it. So essentially what I did here is if inventory hostname is equal to GitLab Praefect 1 is essentially what the inventory is. Don't forget that. Then we'll set this to true. Oh, let's make this right. We'll set this to true. And then we'll end if this. But we will then set this and essentially inventory hostname does not equal GitLab Praefect 1. So essentially this, so if it was this, so I actually need the enable on both though, because so that needs to still be enabled. So that would be set to true on both. That would be set to true and false on the other. Okay, yeah, that should work. That should work. And then in here, to ensure database migrations are only run during reconfigure, not automatically upgrade, we need to make sure that file exists. So we can actually do this pretty easily in the GitLab file here. So what we can do here is essentially create another task that will be skip auto reconfigure configure. So will be Ansible built-in file. The path will be essentially this path that they have in here. So we'll just copy and paste that. And the state will be touch that it essentially exists. And we'll run this essentially when Praefect in inventory hostname and db not in inventory hostname. And I'm doing the brackets because those will be other things that we'll actually have to do this, so we'll add more things, but this is just doing Praefect servers and not the Praefect DB essentially. And then we can reconfigure and let it run. So hopefully, let's add this. So configure Praefect. And we will let this run here. And all we need to do is just do a reconfigure. There really isn't anything to it, it looks like. Let's double check the jobs to make sure that this actually inventory updated. Yep. So now we can go to templates, GitLab HA, and we can run this for the 3 nodes. GitLab Praefect 1, GitLab Praefect 2, and GitLab Praefect 3. And that should essentially set up all 3 servers. So let's give this a whirl, and hopefully it comes back as all good. And in that case, then we should be set with this configuration, and then we should be done. So we'll resume this video when this playbook has finished running. All right, so technically it finished, but it failed on the last step, which is because I missed it. Which you can't see, I gotta scroll up, but I forgot the leading slash in regards to that. I had a leading slash, so it relative directory didn't work. So what I'm going to do is just run this manually, but everything else finished correctly. So the GitLab RB did what I was expected to do, which is great. So we'll log in and just create that file real quick. Touch, and then it was this, paste that. We'll do the same thing for 2 and then 3 as well. So touch that, and then we'll do 3 here. Touch that. But I did fix the playbook, so it should run in the future correctly. That should be good. So that is essentially how the Praefect servers will be configured. Next thing, we'll configure the Gitly servers. So there'll be 3 of those for it. And then I think we got like 2 more things, which I think is Sidekick, and then GitLab Rails. Should be the last thing. Yep, GitLab Rails. And then we'll get the external load balancer correctly, so that essentially, Prometheus. We'll do Prometheus, and then yeah, Prometheus will be the last one. So we got a few more things to do, but we're almost there, guys. Almost there. So if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.